Guys, it's Neo here. So we're gonna be reading a Sonic pasta. It still counts as a creepy pasta, but it's a Sonic pasta. Mainly one that it's mainly one that predates Sonic.exe entirely. It was made in it was still made in the same year as Sonic.exe, but it was published in March 20th before Sonic.exe was released. And I'm reading this on the Sonic Oddities wiki. I think that, and I really I've listened to this creepypasta, but I decided to read it. Now I also will review this creepypasta at the end, and yeah, let's get this over with. Cue the music, I guess. I will tell you all about something horrible that happened to me 2 weeks ago. I couldn't keep it to myself for any longer, so I decided to write it down in order to keep myself sane and remind myself what happened is real. It all started one night. I received an unexpected visit from a friend. His face was pale and his body was shaking non-stop. In his right hand he held a blue pen drive. He slowly brought it to my face. "Take it," he whispered, slightly unsettled. I obeyed in placing the pen drive in my pocket. Immediately after that, my friend put his hand on his face and started to cry silently. His crying got louder, but as time went on, to the point where they turned into agonizing screams. I got up horrified and I attempted to ask him what was going on with him. He suffered for a few minutes on the ground. Then he stopped breathing. I yelled, calling anyone out for help, until my mother answered. I'd rather not remember the rest. The day of his funeral was the most disturbing ones that I have lived through. Watching his entire family mourn and cry for him made me feel horrible. The autopsy revealed that the cause of death was an epilepsy attack. They never asked me for the version of the story. Never knew why, but when I arrived home, I enclosed myself in my room and started to cry, thinking about the moment of his death over and over again, until I remembered the pen drive. I rapidly looked at the basket of dirty clothes I had looking through the pocket of the pair of pants that I wore that day. Then I found the pen drive. At first I doubted whether I should plug it into my PC, and to this day, I regret having done so. But I eventually decided to see the contents of the pen drive. After having turned it on, I looked at its contents. It only contained one folder in a strange language I couldn't understand, and which I haven't been able to decipher to this day. It contained a file called Sonic_the_hedgehog.exe. I noted that the name wasn't correctly written, but I didn't care too much about that at the moment. I tried to open the file, and then an error message popped up, saying something that was about the file I tried to open not existing. I remembered the mistake in the file's name and corrected it, adding an E to the word hedgehog. It allowed me to open the file afterwards. And then I remember my friend was a big Sonic fan, which unsettled me a bit. But when realizing that fact, which unsettled me a little bit when realizing that fact. But I calmed down because the fact that the file was about the friendly blue hedgehog. After opening the game, the screen faded to black, showing a text that read out "loading" with 3 dots, and that appeared and disappeared in a constant rhythm. "It's a fucking game!" I exclaimed, not being sure how to feel about this. I waited for the game to load, and it eventually showed a colorful 8-bit scenery with Sonic's emblem in the front, with him wagging his finger like in the classic games, alongside the typical screen music. For a moment, I thought this had nothing to do with the death of my friend, until I saw the small letters in the menu, in the portion of the screen dedicated to the Sega 1991 copyright credits. There was some text written, seemingly in the exact same strange language of the folder. I felt chills go through me when I noticed that. After that, I simply decided to press enter and move on. The level was the same one as the original Green Hill zone, the original version. Green Hill. I could use the arrow keys to move and the spacebar to jump. The character's physics were normal. just as they were in the original game. It all went just fine until I made a mistake and got hit by an enemy. In the original game, the rings you collected would spill once you took damage. However, this time, instead of rings being spilled out all over the place, there were completely red squares coming out of Sonic. My optimistic mind thought that it was just a bug, but deep down, I knew this wasn't a good sign. I kept going until I cleared the level, but the Act 2 was... when the Act 2 name was displayed on the screen, instead of the typical Green Hill Act 2, there was a lot of garbled text written in the strange language I previously mentioned. The background was not normal this time. It was a plain blood red block that seemingly was slowly pulsating as time went on. I did get scared at that point. I tried to close the game immediately with the escape button, but it wouldn't work. So I tried pressing any other buttons in this version. CTRL, Alt, and SUPR. None of them worked. As the screen distorted itself violently, my desperation grew. A really bright flash began rapidly flickering on the screen, and somehow it paralyzed me. I could not move or close my eyes. I could only watch the horrible things going on the screen. Excessively disturbing female screams started blasting on my speakers, while the screen displayed a close-up of Sonic's face crying blood as the words "Rest in Peace" started appearing everywhere around the screen. The screams didn't stop. In fact, they only got louder as time went on. I started to cry, still unable to move. Then I started shaking. Will I end up just like him? I thought, horrified. The screen faded to black once again, and the screams stopped too, though I desperately fought an attempt to move, but all my efforts were in vain. On the screen, an enormous red 10 showed up, which then changed to a 9, 8, 7. I have to get out of here, I thought to myself, still unable to move. 6, 7. With my biggest efforts, I was able to move a finger, then my head, my arms, and then my entire body. Once the countdown got to 2, I jumped at the ground, covering my head, as if I were in some sort of shootout. I heard a horrible female scream, similar to those that sound in those jump scare pranks that appear all around the internet. Except it was scarier and even worse. It was even more prolonged. I rapidly unplugged my PC's cable and did the same with the pen drive. I stomped it until it was torn into a million pieces, completely destroyed. The nightmare's over. I couldn't stop shaking after what happened. I eventually dried my tears. And left the room. I never told anyone about it until now. Maybe I should just forget it. Sometimes I believe I shouldn't expose my life out to mere curiosity. It's not worth it. However, there is one thing I'm sure of, is regardless of what happened at the end of the countdown, I don't even ever want to know what it was. And that is, my friends, Pendrive Azul. Now, I will give a review of the story. So, I think this is actually better than Sonic.exe. I'm glad that, this is better than Sonic.exe. Sure, it has a bloody-eyed Sonic, but it tells the story in a better, way. Instead of Sonic turning, I'm evil, I'm gonna kill all my friends, nah. Instead, this is a genuine threat. Seriously. I think people can die from epilepsy or have, seizures, but this does sound like a genuine threat that you do not want to deal with in real life. So, seriously, if I got, a blue pen drive and I was, stuck to my computer, bro, yeah, I'd be trying to move. But, yeah, this was really good. I really like this. The next Creepy Sonic boss that I will read, I might do this today, will probably be Fingers the Echidna. I think it's just funny. But, yeah. This was L Pendrive Azul, the Sonic remaster that predates Sonic.exe by a few months. It was still released in the same year. Thank you guys for watching my video. I love you guys. Please subscribe to my channel. It would help a lot. And, yeah. I'll see you guys later.